Ryon, we are live. I am so thrilled to do this with you. I know that we haven't known each other for that long, but the first conversation we had, it was so inspiring, so much fun. I remember looking at the clock and 20 minutes had flown by. So I'm just so grateful to have you here and to continue the conversation. And share your brilliance with the community.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here too. And it was a fun conversation that first time. I remember it as well.
Yes, it's amazing what two high performers can do on the phone together. So I just want to do a really crucial introduction because your story is so profound. You are an international certified personal coach. You hold a law degree and a master's of science in counseling psychology. Before losing your vision at 11 years old, your goal was to be an NFL quarterback. And despite being blind, you never lost the identity of being a competitive athlete. You have a love for working with people who are high achieving, dynamic, and creative, and you help these performers become more aligned with their true purpose. You work with entrepreneurs, athletes, founders, creatives, and these people hire you to really improve their mental game and achieve peak performance for their mind, body, and spirit. You help them bring their A game to every aspect of life and business. And it is just so incredible what you do.
Thanks.
What do you find the most fascinating about working with these high performers, these former athletes or athletes currently, founders, creatives? What do you find most fascinating about that work?
How similar we all are despite how different our backgrounds are. You know, whether you come from money, whether you come from poverty, it's striking how similar most of us think about goals or achieving or how driven we are. It's just crazy that there is definitely a certain personality type that goes on and achieves amazing things, right? And it doesn't really matter where you came from. It really is. It's that personality. It's that drive. It's that willingness to push yourself, to set those goals, to hold yourself accountable. It's always that striving for bigger, better, whatever, faster, stronger, whatever your situation may be. But it's really how similar high achievers really are. That's kind of the biggest surprise I had.
What is a story that you can share with us of working with someone where maybe it was not what you expected it to be, and it ended up being just a really powerful experience for you and for the client?
Yeah, so I'm actually working with a model who's been on Vogue and things like that, and it's a relatively recent client. And I was just talking to her on Monday, and it was weird because we had been working on really kind of giving her structure to her life, goal setting, accountability, and bringing order to the chaos that was her life. And through doing that, and she had done all the work. I mean, I gave her the ideas, but she was following through with the work. And it was just so weird to hear her the other day talk about how her life is going so well because she started working out again and lost 25 pounds in 5 weeks. And we're like, I think I'm gonna take a break from dating and just from men in general. And then all of a sudden has this amazing guy that's so great she's almost scared because she's waiting for the other shoe to drop type thing. And it's just so crazy to see people's lives change that quickly and that dramatically, right? From advice that most of us know, we just don't do, right? I mean, as far as this kind of advice, most of us know. And that kind of stuff is inspiring to me as a coach because it validates what I'm doing. It makes me feel good that I'm making such a profound difference in people's lives. But it's also super cool because I like their lives are now better. They're going on and achieving the goals and dreams that they have, right? And that kind of stuff is what's super, super cool and what to me are the most inspiring. Because I mean, I do the business side too, and the business side is a lot of fun because it's more complicated, but it's not as rewarding because I mean, money's great, but you know, life changing experiences, like that's where it's at as far as like, you know, real rewards, right?
Nothing is better than that moment or
Mm-hmm.
experience where that client writes you that message or phones you and says, "Oh my gosh, this is my life now."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you always feel really confident in your ability as a coach, or was that developed over time?
So I'm an odd mix. No is the simple short answer to that question. It's because I'm very confident in myself and in my abilities, but I'm kind of weird from the standpoint of like I have a hard time really like showing my confidence if I haven't done it and achieved and succeeded in it, right? Because that to me crosses the line to arrogance. If you've done it and you've been successful, you're confident. If you haven't and you brag about it, you're arrogant. And so it wasn't so much that I lacked the confidence; I lacked the successes early on because we're new, right? Like it takes time to do that. And like once I got that, then my confidence was allowed to really show through. But that's more of a kind of quirk in my own kind of belief system more than it was, you know, really anything that could be like changed or not changed, but taught, I guess.
It's kind of like how Nike Nike puts it, just
Yeah,
do it.
just do
Just
it.
do the
Yeah,
damn
yeah.
thing, right?
I took my first client for free. I mean, I still have a client for free, because I needed the experience, right? And I was like, I knew if I was able to have a client, I would make those changes. I would get that experience. I would like she would be, and she has been a great, what's the right word? Anyway, a person that like spreads the word of Ryan type thing. But more importantly, I did it because I knew it would give me the confidence when I'm on future phone calls to present myself in a manner that would attract the kind of clients that I want to attract, right? Like it made me sound like I knew what the hell I was doing, right? So that's why I took my first client was solely for that reason. And I did it for free.
Yes, I love that. It is such great advice,
Mm-hmm.
especially I think for coaches who are just getting their feet wet.
Yep.
We can spend, like I know personally, I spent so much time
Mm-hmm.
doing all the shiny things
Yep.
and
Yep.
not doing the coaching.
Yep.
And that is the only place and space where that experience can be
Mm-hmm.
nurtured. And so I love that you share that. And hopefully, even if it's just one person that hears this and gets that ping of, oh man, just get out there and start
Mm-hmm.
coaching, even if you're not getting paid to do it. Of course, we
Mm-hmm.
want you to make a really amazing living as a coach. It is possible, but
Mm-hmm.
you just got to do it.
Mm-hmm. And that's not what seminars tell you, right? Like that's not where the gurus tell you. The guru is all about the shiny. It's all about the
Yes.
website, and yeah, it helps, but that's not what it's about. Because if all you are is a shiny website and you're not bringing value, not bringing substance, A, they're not going to stick with you. B, they're not going to refer you, and you know you're going to spend your whole life marketing and looking for new clients. Looking for new clients is great. I want like clients to be like passive income. They're always there. I don't have to look for because I'm providing them value, right? And which makes me keep my game high because I'm always I have to be better to make sure I'm always bringing them value. But if I'm always bringing them value, I'm not always looking for clients. Like it just works beautifully, right? That's kind of how I viewed it anyway.
I'm going to highlight what you just said. If you are always creating value, you're
Mm-hmm.
never looking for clients.
Right.
If you're always creating value, you're never looking for clients. Isn't that the truth?
Mm-hmm. Because why would they leave? Mine is like financial situation. Why would they leave?
Yeah. So we were laughing when we first talked. We were both chuckling at the fact that we shared this uninterest in the meetings. We were talking about how in corporate there's a meeting for a meeting for a meeting. And we're both a bit rebellious in that way because, again, as high performers, it's kind of like, well, is this meeting preventing me from creating or innovating or getting the actual thing we want to get done? Yep. And so I'm curious, where else in your life, in your coaching, in your business, in your personal life, do you often tend to feel like a rebel or doing it unconventionally?
Okay. This is kind of a part of my being, and the answer to your question is kind of everywhere. I have my favorite question in the world, and it has been since I was a small child, and my parents will completely validate this, is why. I always want to know why. I don't really care what the reason is. I just want to know what the reason is, right? And as a result, that makes me do things differently. It makes me think differently. I hear different opinions, which causes it. So, and I've kind of. I remember doing my first, getting into coaching, going through the whole, guru thing, and part of it was kind of group think, and I kind of fell into it because I'm paying a lot of money for this. These are the experts. This is what I should follow. And I followed it, and I failed spectacularly, right? And I was kind of like, and I typically do this. This is part of my rebellious side. I eventually get to the point I'm like, oh, screw this shit. I'm just going to do it how I want to do it. Well, guess what? That's where my success came because, I was being me. I was being authentic to me. I was giving, I was doing the things that I would be attracted to. As if I was my potential client, I'd be attracted to that. So I started doing those things. And, I started getting clients. So the answer to your question is kind of everywhere. I'm that way in my personal life. I'm that way in my professional life. Is it good? I don't know. It's just kind of who I am personally. And because if you don't, here's the thing. If you never question why, like why we're doing it this way or why something exists, then, you never open your mind up to find those new solutions that might make it better. And there might not be new solutions that make it better, but you don't know until you ask that question.
It's so powerful. And I think it applies to every category of life. If you think about the things, the conditioning and the programming that we have from childhood to do things a certain way, maybe because past generations did it that way, or parents or grandparents, and it was good for their generation. But even just questioning things, like right now, I'm talking with a lot of clients and people around December. Is this a month for you to possibly take your foot off the gas a bit and rest and recharge heading into the new year? Or is it a month where you are going to leverage the energy of December and enroll 5 new clients or create something really powerful? It can go either way, but asking the question is so key. What do you feel like? What does this month represent for you? Is it more of the energy, the creation, the innovation, or is it the rest, recharge?
You're talking about for me personally as opposed to for my clients?
Right. For you, and what are you seeing among your clients right now?
I'm fortunate, and you might be the same way. I tend to attract clients who are creatives for some reason. I mean, whether that's the industry they're in or not, but they're creative. And so the thing about, because I'm super creative, and that's probably why it happens. And the thing about creatives is we get bored super easily. So we're always looking for something new that interests us. So, is this the time to take the foot off? They never take their foot off the gas. You have a hard time keeping us on the original trajectory because we're like shiny new object kids. Oh, there, let's look at that. It's hard to. So I don't just really have the keep my clients motivated type thing issue. Just because it's just kind of the kind of clients I have. And I guess I'm the same way. For me, I'm never motivated or not motivated by the time of year. I'm either motivated or not motivated by what is currently interesting me or not. If I'm not interested, I'm not motivated. So, but if I'm interested in something, hell, it can be, Christmas Eve, and I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, researching or learning or whatever because I'm interested, right? So it's more that for me than it is calendar based. And I think it's that way for my clients as well.
Yeah. So it's more of this internal alignment and internal
Yeah.
guidance system than anything that's on the
Mm-hmm.
outside.
Yep. Yep.
Is that something that you feel is innate? Is that something you're born with, or is that nurtured?
You're gonna love it. I not only have a master's in counseling psych, but I have a law degree. And the thing about lawyers are, the answer is always both, right? I can make an argument both ways. The answer is both. For me, it's inherent. I was just born that way. Like I'm just, I'm interested when I'm interested, and I'm not when I'm not. But the reality is, you can learn that because you're going to be interested in what you're passionate about, and if you're passionate about it, whether it's the end of the year or it's the middle of the year, you're going to be excited to learn about it, excited to do it because it's what gives you energy. That's learned, right? You learn to do that because that's what you're passionate in. So the answer is both. The key is figuring out which one is you and then leveraging what you need to leverage to make sure you get done what you need to get done.
I think that there's so much noise out there constantly,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and that has led to us silencing that really powerful voice that is inside all of us, guiding us in every moment. And I think that there's a struggle for some people to really access that when they're living in a constant state of bombardment and social media, and this person telling you to do it this way, and that person saying, no, do it this way. And it creates such chaos and confusion. And I know you mentioned earlier, you love to help take your clients from chaos into order. So what ideas, what would you say to that for people who are just feeling completely lost and out of tune with their own internal voice? How do they be more like you?
Yeah, so this was a point I was going to make, but you kind of dovetailed it nicely for me. When it came to all the noise, right? My question was always, if there was truly only one way to do something, that would be the only way everybody did everything, right? There wouldn't be all this different ways of doing it. Does that make sense? So once you kind of realize and acknowledge that, you know what, there's not one true path to success. There's not one true way to, fill in the blank of what you're doing. Then it frees you up to figure out what path is best for you. Because not everybody's path is going to be the same, or the journey is going to be the same. And it shouldn't be the same because that's how innovation comes, and that's how you attract different clients because your journeys are similar or whatever, right? So it's accepting the fact of, you know what, this stuff is not driving with me, but this over here is. I'm going to try this for a while, right? It's giving yourself the freedom to ignore the so-called experts that are espousing the one and only way of doing something, and freeing yourself up to trust your gut and be like, let's try this for a while. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, guess what? There's another avenue out there somewhere, right? And so it's really just kind of taking the pressure off of yourself that you have to be perfect all the time, and that it is a clean, and acknowledging that it's an illusion that there is a clear path to a clear, clean path to success. There's not. It's messy. It's up and down. You're gonna have failures. You're gonna have setbacks. You're gonna wake up one day and be like, God, why am I doing this? This sucks. And then you have these successes. You're like, this is why I'm doing it. And so once you kind of acknowledge that, it makes it easier because you know what to expect.
It's a way of setting expectations.
Yeah.
I think it's easier said than done a lot of the
Absolutely.
time. When we're starting out, it's kind of like we're looking for that one thing to solve all of our problems. That one thing to be the cash cow, to open up the client floodgates. And I think there's this constant quest for that one thing. And the reality is, I don't know that one thing exists. To your point, I think that it is a series of steps that we're taking up the staircase, and it's all this accumulative effect that leads us to success. And it's never, ever linear.
No, it's not. Nope. The only one thing I know about is the Gary Keller book. It's the only one I know about. That's his book, the one thing. Yeah, which I mean,
Yes.
it's good advice, but I mean, it's a terrible title as far as the one thing to success, right? No, there's no one thing.
You mentioned your clients and people you've worked with feeling this pressure to do it perfectly, get it done perfectly. I see that as well. And a lot of talk lately that I'm having with people is removing the guilt that is attached to doing things that maybe don't end up in the way that you expected, or even guilt as it relates to taking the time. So as a high performer, we've been pushing, driving, creating this whole year, let's just say, in the midst of all this craziness. And now for some people, they're being called to recharge. And so what does this look like in your eyes for high performers? How do we work hard and recover harder? What does that look like in your world?
So it's funny because I was just talking about this with a client yesterday. She was, because I was talking about how my model client, how she had lost 25 pounds, and my other client was like, I need to do that. And so I was like, we're really great about setting goals. We're going to do this, and this, but we're terrible about setting priorities. So, like, what is the most important thing to do, right? And what I basically, because I was talking about, like, my thing is, like, I kind of have my week, like, I'm going to do these workouts this day. And like, I have a week idea of what I'm going to do. I don't have like I'm like, this is at 8, this is at 9. My brain just doesn't work that way. But I have an idea of what I'm going to accomplish in a day, and when I accomplish it, it's kind of irrelevant as long as it gets done that day. But I do have a priority list I've discovered, which is I'm going to work out today. I'm going to read today. There are certain things that I'm going to do, and those are my priorities. And the point I was making to her was, when you forget your priority list, and if working out is your priority, the reality is, I heard this once from somebody, and it makes sense once it's explained. Working out is his number one priority, even over his family. Not because it's more important than his family, but by doing it every day, by being healthy, it makes him better at his profession, and it makes him better personally, because he has the energy and the mental clarity to be there for his business and be there for his family when either one of those situations calls for it, right? And so that becomes his number one priority. And I told her that, I was like, don't feel bad for putting it that way, because by it being your number one priority, you're going to be 10 times better at everything that comes after that than you would have been otherwise. And just by acknowledging that, and I guess understanding what your intent what your intent is by putting it number one, because it's not that you're really putting it over your family. You're just putting it there so you can be better for your family, so you can be better for your business. That alleviates a lot of guilt, I think, right? So
That's such a powerful reframe.
yeah. I can't take credit for it. I heard it somewhere else, but I really like it when I heard it.
I mean, it's so true. The things that we prioritize to fuel us, to some people might appear selfish, which
Absolutely.
I get, but I can't stand that perspective. Because it's being done to sharpen our sword, so we are even better for all the hats that we wear, and it creates this domino effect for the people closest to us and our communities.
Yep.
I think a better we starts with a better me.
It does, and most people wouldn't look at it. That's not, you're right. That does sound very selfish, but the reality is, like, okay, I would not say this to most people, but like, family is super important, but you can't tell me family is always the most important thing for everyone ever. Because if it was, we as Americans wouldn't work 60 hours a week, right? We as Americans wouldn't miss kids, recitals and football games because of work, right? Like, we love to say it's the most important thing, but if you watch our actions and our behaviors, for most of it's not. Now, some of that's because you have to make money to pay the bills. But a lot of it's just because we don't have the balls to be like, no, boss, I'm going to watch my kids, whatever, right? Because we're worried about the fallout. But so it's kind of like I'm very big into living truly living the way that you espouse, that you believe, right? And if you're going to live that way, you're going to have to really face some hard truths, and you're going to have to reorganize and reprioritize your life to match your beliefs, or the only other choice is change your beliefs to match your life. There's no other point unless you're going to be a hypocrite.
Yeah. Yeah. So years ago, I sat down and did a whole values blueprint, and I think for the first time, it was maybe 2015. This was the first time where I really sat down and understood what my values are, got clarity around that. And that's when I saw certain things and really was able to have that honest look and say, well, my life isn't lined up to these values right now. I'm going to have to make some changes. One of those biggest changes led to me leaving my corporate job and starting a business. But that was kind of the first piece for me as far as understanding what then to prioritize. I'm curious for you, what is your process every week, or how do you really hone in to your priorities on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly, quarterly? How does that happen for you?
Yeah, so here's me being a hypocrite. I'm really good about making my clients do it. I'm really awful about doing it myself, right? It's why we all need coaches. My priorities, I know, right? We get busy. Like I said, half of what we do as a coach is truthfully for our client is accountability. Like, they have someone to report to make sure that they're staying on track. And it's crazy how much more productive they are because of it. But anyway, a lot of my priorities are so kind of, I've done them so long, they're very just kind of innate, inherent in what I do, right? And as a result, I kind of structure my day around those priorities. Like, I'm going to work out, I'm going to read, those are two big ones for me. Those are probably two. And then I'm going to learn, because I'm huge on continuing to learn, grow, and evolve, not only for myself, but that makes me better for my clients, right? So I'm going to learn, grow, and evolve some way, right? One of those three, and so those are priorities that I'm going to do, every day on some level, and then everything else is filled around that, right? So I don't really do like a calendar, or, if that makes sense as far as that kind of stuff. But I do know what I'm going to do those things every day. I just don't know what form they're going to take. Yeah. One thing. Terrible answer as a coach, right?
Hey, that is a valid answer, my friend. I resonate with that. One of the things that you said when we first spoke was about the best place to be is content with where you are.
Yep.
And oftentimes for achievers, we are constantly striving for greatness. We're constantly striving for the next thing. And this can lead to a lot of unhappiness for achievers. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, because I say this all the time, what I said was, like, because I come from a family that's very successful, but sometimes they get onto me for thinking that I'm better than I am, and it's not that I do. It's like I want to be a high achiever. I want to be super successful. I want to do all these amazing things in my life, and it's not that I'm saying average is bad or is terrible, or I'm judging it. It's more of realize, like I realize I'm looking for greatness, right? And that's it. And as a result, I'm happy in that pursuit. I know it's going to come with challenges, and it's going to come with its negative things, but like, that's the life I want to choose, and I'm happy with that. But if you are living an average life and you are like happy with the fact that you're coming home at 5 o'clock every day, you get to spend time with your wife and your kids, but you're only making $60,000 a year, but you're happy with it. Cool, great. That's a wonderful place to be, because guess what? That's a whole lot less stress or work than it is to go try to be great or amazing, right? Be content with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You may live a happier life than I do because you're just you're happy with where you are. But know that and accept that, and don't be happy where you are, but then fall into the trap of, okay, I need to go try to be great or be better. If that's not who you are, if that's not what you want from life, you're doing nothing but cause yourself grief and heartache because you're shooting for a goal, you're shooting for a lifestyle that's really not that's really truly not what you want, what you desire, what you resonate with. There's no shame in that, right? Like, be happy with being happy. Like, I think that's a great place to be, but that's not everyone, right? And I'm big in that because it's not everyone, right? But also, don't judge people for wanting to live a different lifestyle than you. Like, that's the other part about it too. I think a lot of us fall into like, oh my God, they're just being average. Hell, fine, let them be average. That means there's less competition for me. But they're also happy. Like, be happy for them that they're happy. Like, I don't understand why people judge, for different lifestyles.
It kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, and knowing what it is that you want. What is your why? What is the why? And I suspect that most people, the average person, doesn't truly know what it is that they really want.
It's probably true. Yeah.
And it's just such a helpful reminder and encourager for people to allow themselves the space to sit down and journal out or ask those questions of themselves to get that, to create that clarity,
right,
for their life and their happiness. Well, what is your happiness blueprint? We all get to really create that.
Mm-hmm. You said a really powerful word in there that you probably didn't realize you said that I've only recently discovered, and it's space. We as Americans, we take pride, because it's our Puritan ethic, of being busy. What are you busy doing? I don't know, but I'm busier in hell. Okay, we don't give ourselves the time and allow that space, right? Like, space is super important for creativity, super important for recharging, super important for like stepping back and analyzing, what was my day like? What was good about it? What was bad about it? What was productive? What was not, right? It's feeling okay. It's not feeling guilty, back to your guilt question, of allowing that time where you're not busy doing some crap, but you're just kind of sitting there, letting your mind wander, allowing that time and space to do what the mind does, which is process the daily information and make some sense of it, right? And our Americans are terrible about it because we take pride in being busy. And it's not the most productive use of time, oddly enough.
It's really so true. I'm 3 years removed from the corporate grind, and I still battle this.
We all do. It's the American ethic.
It is a constant struggle. And then adding to it, if you come from conditioning or family messaging that really rewarded hard work and attached that to your goodness or your identity, it's a whole bunch of muck to unpack.
Absolutely. Yep. I have German parents. Trust me, I understand. We work hard. And that's what you do. You work hard, right? So I totally understand.
What are some of the things that you do to evolve your coaching and grow your mastery?
Yeah. So podcasts. I'm big into podcasts. I find my people that I really value their intelligence, their insight, their creative thinking. And oddly enough, not all of it's, it's business, but it's not what you think about. Like, I listen to no coaching podcasts, right? So I listen to people because it's just, smart people are smart people. I don't care what field they're in, and they're going to have some kind of amazing insight to human element, from the perspective, right? And so I like to learn from different areas like that because it makes me think differently, and I'm not siloed to just business or just sports or just whatever. So I do a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books, whether they're my mood depends on my mood, how many business books I read, because frankly they're boring as hell, but we all learn from them, but they are boring. I read sci-fi, but the reason I read a lot of fiction, sci-fi, whatever, but that also really helps me with creativity, right? Because it puts you in that, creative, out of the box thinking, right? Oddly enough, where I a lot of my learning and where I shine with my clients is it's in the special energy that comes from a conversation like you and I are having. Um, I, I am awful about give me 15 ideas. I can't give you 15 ideas, but if we're in a conversation and we're talking and we're grooving, we're getting a mastermind thing going, I can give you 20 ideas in that conversation that are amazing, right? Because I'm feeding off of that one. Like you make a comment that spurs something that makes me think about something between us. We come up with this amazing like light bulb moment, right? Like I learn a lot from that, just from that kismet that comes from working with two like-minded individuals that are working toward a common goal, right? So um, that's super fun. That because then you can apply it to other situations, other clients, etc.
That's so, so good. And just a really important aspect of, I think, growth, entrepreneurial, professional, just having that person or people or tribe who really are energetically, mentally minded, similar wavelengths as you, that you can kind of always be think tanking together. So
No,
powerful.
it's super cool. And until you experience it, you're like, oh, it's crap. But once you experience it, then you're like, wow, that's life changing.
That's so true. And I find that similar to coaching as well. Like I
I
have
agree.
so many clients that I try to tell them it's not, it's impossible to verbalize or try and explain what your coaching can do. It's far better to create the experience of what that is.
Yep.
Do you agree?
I totally agree because I'm a terrible salesperson because I hate bragging on myself. Oh, I'm going to change your life and do that. Hell, I don't know if I'm going to change your life. And if I do change your life, I have no idea in what ways I'm going to change your life. I'm not going to give you what I'm saying? I have no idea. Like my client that was the model, I had no idea I was going to change her life by making her lose weight. That was not what I would have predicted, right? So, yeah, absolutely. And you're right, because what makes coaching great is how good your coach is, or more importantly, how good your coach is for you. And there's no way to put that in any type of marketing sales copy, right? I mean, you can make it sound great, but until you experience it, you have no way of truly knowing. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And, linking back to what we were talking to earlier about just doing it, like just start creating micro or macro experiences where people can connect to who you are as a coach. Something like this, like someone, might see this and really have deep resonance with your energy and want to reach out. And that is the best possible promotion any of us can do. So yeah, just get out there and start creating the experience of what your super sauce, what your magic is.
And realize when you're starting, you're not going to have a clue what it is. It takes time, it takes practice. It takes trial and error, and it takes a lot of error. Trust me. I'm much better on this interview than I would have been, 18 months ago, right? Because I'm much more willing to allow my true colors to shine through. And I have a lot more experience. I have a lot more stories. I'm a lot more confident in my abilities because I have a lot more clients that I've had successes with. It takes time. Mastery takes time. It does. It kind of Bill Belichick's all about the journey, the process, right? You better fall in love with the process because that's where you're going to spend 99% of your life. The goals are that 1%, that one little sugar high. And then if you're a high achiever, guess what you're going to do? You're going to set another goal further out there, right? So you're going to be in the process again. Fall in love with that process because that's where your life is going to be.
And I love that you mentioned him, that
Belichick.
coach in particular,
Yeah.
because his process is unparalleled. I mean, and you are the expert here, but I watched, I think maybe it was the Tom Brady documentary that they did on Facebook. But it was incredible to see, to witness how he has set up this organization to create results. And it's no surprise why they create the results they create year after year. It goes back to these processes.
Yep. One of the most influential books I read, and I loved it because I come from a father who owned a business and very much valued, employees, right? Like really took care of them, like really appreciated them. But I read The Myth Enterprise, right? And it was all about systems. And the importance of creating a system was, this goes back to Bill Belichick, important of creating a system was the system does the work, the people just kind of like push it along, right? And that what happens is that makes people replaceable and you're not held hostage by that one high performer, right? Um, so that was because they can be replaced because the system's doing the work. Very much, I hate that philosophy, but unfortunately, it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. Um, but that's very much what Belichick did. He has a process, he has a system. That's why he goes like, "Do your job," because his system is what's doing the work, right? It's setting up those structures, those boundaries, whatever for success, and the people are just, the cogs in that wheel. Like I said, from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. From a personal human perspective, I absolutely hate it. But, the reality is both parts are true about
Yeah,
about that
yeah.
situation. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because one really beautiful, powerful system you spoke to earlier was how you create value for your clients and you
Mm-hmm.
never have to look for clients.
Right.
So I'm curious, are there any other systems that you have in place that um, that you just feel are really attributing to success, personal or professional?
Yeah, it really depends on how you want to define a system, how broadly or narrowly, right? So you're right, that is a system. But you call that a system or you call that a philosophy? I probably call that a philosophy to continue to learn, grow, and evolve. And it's weird. Like, so I continue to learn because I have really high achieving clients. It forces that. So it becomes like really weird. Right? It becomes my little system or my philosophy. I have my system of like my days, what I do on these days, and why I do it, and yada yada yada, right? So, but where the system is important there is I know I'm going to do these exercises these days, or at least get them accomplished that week, and so I know what I'm going to do, and as a result, I don't think about it, and the system kind of does the work of on this day I do this, on this day I do this, right? And so, or is that a habit? Maybe it's a habit. Like they're all kind of the same stuff. There's a little bit different flavor to them, and I think what is more importantly is it's creating a structure, whether it's a system, whether it's a habit, whether it's a philosophy, that works for you, that allows you to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish in a day, a week, a month, a year, that you find important, that will make your life fulfilled. So that's kind of my definition. I mean, that's a really roundabout way of explaining that. But yeah, that's kind of what I would think of a system, and to me, how they help me, if that makes sense.
Beautiful. This has been so great. And the last thing that I would love to know from you is, and I love how you speak of having clarity, your voice, your message, and you've evolved this, but you have this connection to what makes you uniquely you. And I really feel the connection to that. And it's very inspiring because I think we're all constantly striving to get closer and closer to that authentic essence of who we are and what we want to say. So if you had a megaphone and could shout one thing to a crowd of 1 billion people, what would you want to say?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a tough question because it really depends on what angle I want to go with. Okay, here it is. So recently, this has been within the last six or 8 months. You and I talked about this when it came to identity. I read about that, and I did not realize, like I told you, how much of my identity was still the NFL quarterback that I envisioned being at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old before losing my vision, right? And how I was still viewing the world that way, how it was affecting my decisions, my personality. Like, it was me, and then, but I was not fully embracing that because, like I mentioned earlier, if I haven't achieved it, I can't, fully believe it, right? So I had to kind of get past that. So it would be really think about what is your identity, like who are you? Because what your identity is it's those glasses by which you filter the information that comes from the world, right? It determines how you see stuff, right? And like for me, once I got past the age of the quarterback, is how far you can throw a ball, how accurate you can throw a ball, and it became more of the leader of men, uniting people behind a common goal, right? Once I reframed it that way, then I was able to accept I am still that guy that thinks he's an NFL quarterback. It's still my identity. It's just now more the leadership, motivational aspect of what a quarterback does rather than the physical things, right? So it's really figure out what your identity is and how it is influencing how you see the world, right? And then question, is this helping you or hurting you in the pursuit of, your goals, right? So that would be my shout to the world thing.
I love that. And that happens to be part of your unique expertise that you support your clients in uncovering. Yeah. Yeah. So we are going to link your site here for a direct link so people can have easy access to you. Mm-hmm. Ryon, I just want to thank you for being with us today. You were such a light. Thank you for all that you do in this world. And I'm so thrilled that we're connected.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Cool.